Ladies and gentlemen, I am back with another interview. Today's guest is the president and co-founder of an excellent organization that is doing great things. It's called Legends of the Cage. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Moore. Brian, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming on. So let's get right to it. Well, I always ask fighters how they got into MMA. So let me ask you, from a fan's perspective, how did you become an MMA fan?
Actually, I watched my first UFC event in a buddy's basement one time. It was UFC 8. And I come walking in the room about 3 seconds before Gary Goodridge elbowed Paul Herrera. And watching the elbows from Gary Goodridge just hooked me. We ended up rewinding the tape, watching the whole thing twice that night, and ever since, I've been a huge MMA fan.
So that was you're talking about probably 22, 21 years ago or so?
Yeah, right at 21.
Yeah.
Makes me feel old.
Yeah, so I've been UFC 6, so I'm right in the same sense as you've been. So tell us how this Legends of the Cage came along and tell us what it is exactly.
Yeah, actually, we're an organization that was founded to give the legends of this sport, the guys and ladies that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making it the great sport it is today, to give them a platform, to reach back out to the fans, to be a part of MMA again. You know, after meeting a lot of these guys, I realized they felt like the sport had moved on and forgotten them. And Legends of the Cage was simply designed to show them that they're wrong. The fans love the legends, and they always will.
So you have a whole list of people involved in this. You got fighters, you got referees, you have writers, you have people who've led organizations, all kinds from all aspects of the MMA game. Tell us just some of the names that are involved.
Yeah, we've got some really good fighters on board. Don Fry, Gary Goodridge, Paul Varlins, Mark Coleman, Ensign Inouye, Phil Baroni. I could go on and on and on with the fighters. Shannon Rich. We've tried to reach out and induct a lot of people that were contributors to the sport, like the founder of the UFC himself, the man, Art Davey, and Monty Cox, and some of the great, promoters of the sport. We've even touched in on some of the managers. Phyllis Lee, one of the first lady MMA managers. We really tried to encompass the entire sport of MMA and reach into every organization and honor the people that made this sport what it is today.
Yeah, and just so people know, it's like a promotional thing. You do events where, I know you've done events in the past where you do like a meet and greet where people might meet the legends, meet a Dan Severn, meet a Mark Coleman, stuff like that. What else goes on with it?
Yeah, we've done a few huge events. We did the UFC Expo in 2015, the New York MMA Expo. We've been out to a lot of fanfare expos and events, and last year we started something called the Do Good Things Tour, where legends have went around the country and visited some children's hospitals, juvenile detention centers. Gary Goodridge did a great event here in Ohio in 2016. You can go on our legendsofthecage.com website and check out the documentary from Gary's tour. And we've been really pushing to get these fighters back in front of the fans and show them that the fans want to remember the legends. They want to honor them for what they've done.
Yeah, we've had a great opportunity and I would say an honor to speak to some of these legends. I got to speak with Mark Coleman, who's the guy that you're involved. He was one of the first interviews we had. Like you said, Dan Severn. When I was talking to Coleman, he seemed like he felt like he was forgotten, and that felt bad for me because I grew up watching Mark Coleman. I watched his entire career. I remember his debut like it was yesterday, and he was like a Greek god walking in with his muscles upon muscles, and never saw anybody that was able to take everybody down and headbutt them. And it's sad because you do have a new crop of fans that come in and they know Conor McGregor and they know Ronda Rousey, but they forget that if it wasn't for Mark Coleman or Hoist Gracie or Ken Shamrock or Dan Severn or Ensign Inouye and guys like this, they wouldn't. Or Gary Goodridge, another guy you said, is they wouldn't have MMA. I mean, these guys went through the hard times, and worse is that their bodies got beat up. This isn't baseball or golf where you walk in. I mean, these guys are beat each other up for a living, and they have to go on through their lives. So let me ask you a question. So you're trying to get these guys notoriety. Obviously, I shouldn't say notoriety because they already are famous. They already are. They've paid their dues to the sport, and I'm grateful for they are. But you're trying to let them remember that they are great, and we love them. Especially me and you have been around for a long time watching this. Are you actively recruiting other fighters? Is that something that you're looking for?
Actually, we just reached out to a few current fighters here currently. We just inducted Misha Tate to Legends of the Cage.
Wow, well, that's a big name again.
Yeah. Well, she's our youngest inductee, of course, but
yeah,
looking at women's MMA, it's such a new sport. It's such a new thing that to find the legends of WMMA has been a hurdle for us. We've inducted Julie Kedzie and Shannon Knapp and Tara LaRosa. There's many more to come, Gina Carano and others, but we just felt like as an ambassador of the sport, Misha Tate has always put a good face on. She's always been a good role model to kids, and we just wanted to honor her with an induction for everything she's done through Strikeforce, the UFC, the Bantamweight Championship, all of it.
Yeah, now she's working with Fox Sports, doing commentating. She's still active. I mean, I know she's part of a gym and all that, and obviously she's a legend. I mean, if the women's MMA, if it wasn't for her, and another one you said, Gina Carano, you wouldn't have had the Ronda Rousey and Amanda Nunes. So, I just want to ask, what's like the criteria to be part of it? Do you have to be retired? Do you have to, or is it like you had to fight before a certain time, or is it you have to fight for like a certain length of time, or what? Is there a criteria?
To be a part of Legends of the Cage, to join Legends of the Cage, all you have to do is fight, man. We respect every fighter out there. Some of our fighters have only seen one fight in the octagon, or maybe have a pretty severe losing record. But it's just the fact that they stepped forward, that they were willing to get in that cage and entertain the millions of fans, And we do have a Hall of Fame that we're working on. We've inducted several people into the Hall of Fame, but we are setting up our website now currently for a fan vote where fans can actually induct the legends. Now, the Hall of Fame, it's a little stricter to get in. You have to make a serious impact on the sport.
Sure.
Which, all of these legends really have. So, I don't know. I see it growing exponentially over the next 2 to 3 years.
Okay, so obviously you have to have a big impact. Probably someone's champion, someone's been around a long time, like a Don Fry. So, like, who are some of the guys that have already been inducted into the Hall of Fame?
Mark Coleman. Mark Coleman was our very first inductee.
Yeah.
We inducted the great Burt Watson. I've talked to so many fighters, man, and I don't believe anybody in the world has made a bigger impact on who they are as people than Burt Watson.
Yeah.
And to us, that was an important one, was honoring Burt for everything he's done. We have Don Fry, he's been inducted. Phil Baroni. We have our list on our website, legendsofthecage.com. We're actually getting ready to revamp the website this week and add the all-new Hall of Fame section.
Okay.
So check us out.
So go back to how you got into the Hall of Fame. Is there like a certain amount of vote they have to reach? Is there a panel that's voting? Like, who's voting? What's like a number they have to get in, or you just kind of like let us know how the person actually gets selected?
Well, actually, currently, it's such a small number that we've actually inducted that the way we've been doing it is just I call up some legends, and we talk it over and who's worthy. But to us, it's to be a Hall of Fame, it should really be controlled by the fans. The UFC has their Hall of Fame, and it's great. It honors a lot of the UFC veterans, but it's not a fan-based Hall of Fame, and that's what we want. We want the Legends of the Cage fans to pick who goes in, and that'll all be figured out on our website over the next few weeks.
Okay. Is there going to be a waiting period? Like, for example, in baseball, you have to be 5 years retired. football, 5 years retired. I think the NBA is the same way. Is there going to be a waiting period where a guy has to, have a certain length of time without retiring? Or does it just be you have to be retired, or any idea like that?
Man, to be honest, like, a Hall of Fame should be about the legends. It should be about the people that have really built the foundation of the sport. But there's a lot of fighters right now that currently belong. Current fighters on the roster. You're talking about the Frankie Edgars, the guys that have really put it out there and fought all these years. And to be honest, I don't know. I don't know where the Hall of Fame's going to go as far as the criteria exactly. We inducted Miesha Tate yesterday, and it was huge. The fan love. There's a lot of fans out there that don't know some of these legends, and to induct the more current fighters brings in a whole new group of fans to experience what these guys did, to see the videos, to be a part of Legends of the Cage. So there's a lot of things coming in the next month. I'm sure I'll put it all up on the website as far as the criteria and where we go with that. But yeah, we're looking to honor the legends of the sport.
So I know one thing I've noticed, we follow each other on Facebook and Twitter. I know one thing is you're gathering not just fighters and, inductees into the Hall of Fame. You're also gathering like products and collectibles of gloves and pictures and things like that, mouthpieces and from different fighters and different things. So it's going to be an actual museum, kind of like when you go down to Cooperstown for baseball and you can go in there and see, a Ted Williams bat or Kurt Schilling bloody sock, stuff like that. That's kind of the plan too. The same thing, to get not only the fighters but the things that were involved in fights. Correct?
Correct. Yeah, we're currently working on the Legends of the Cage MMA Museum. To be honest, we have hands down probably the biggest collection in the world of MMA memorabilia, of title belts, pride trophies. We're working on 30-plus pride trophies at this point. We cover every single organization, from IVC belts to the early Vale Tudo Brazil belt from Nick Nutter that was just donated. We want to encompass the entire sport of MMA and give fans an overview of where the sport came from. Too many fans think that MMA and UFC are one, and that MMA started with Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonner.
Of course.
So, and Stephen's one of our inductees. And it was a great fight. Don't get me wrong. That fight changed the face of the UFC.
Of course.
That fight helped bring MMA mainstream, but MMA started way before the Ultimate Fighter House formed.
Yeah, when people mention that they became a fan of MMA at, the Ultimate Fighter Season 1, Stephen Bonner, Forrest Griffin, I remember that night and that happened and people talking about it and feeling proud, like, yeah, man, this has been my secret. I've had this secret forever, that this is the best sport there is. And it felt like, I felt like a father watching their child finally getting recognized for like some kind of greatness. Like, yeah, guys, I'm trying to tell you, and it has also been some killer fights. You should have saw Tito Ortiz and Frank Shamrock. You should have saw that. You should have saw Pedro Hizzo and Randy Couture. You should have saw that. These are great fights that were before it. So as me and you have been
how many friends I had that I tried to get to watch MMA that would not watch it until that fight? Yeah. It was crazy what it did for the sport.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely. We're actually doing a thing this week. I've written an article, my top 25 UFC fights, only UFC, because obviously if you get into the whole sport, there's way too many to figure out the top 25 fights. And you get in Pride, and you get in Pancrave, and Rings, and all kinds of stuff. So anyways, long story short, we're doing a top 25 fighters of all time. By the time people will listen to this, it'll already be out. I've already did this in the past. We're rewriting it, and we're releasing them, top 25 fights. And I'll give a little spoiler. Forrest Griffin, Stephen Bonner is very high on the list, but it is not my number one pick. But if you ask me okay, guys.
Oh, I was going to say, if I can give you any suggestions, I got two.
Okay, guys.
Brian Stan versus Vanderlei Silva.
Okay, yeah, that's a great fight. That's a killer fight.
Diego Sanchez versus Gilbert Melendez.
Oh yeah, that's definitely. I mean, that one's very high on my list. I already had the list already out. We just have to rewrite it because when I first originally sent it out, Cub Swanson and Juho Choi wasn't part of the list because it was already written before.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, that fight has to be added in. But what I was going to say is, Forrest Griffin, Stephan Bonnar, in my opinion, wasn't the best fight ever. But in my opinion, it's the most important fight ever. Because no fight brought in the fandom that one did. And one thing I've always talked to people, even people today that aren't MMA fans, I say, give it a little bit of shot, give it 6 months, and not only will you be a fan, you'll be a hardcore fan. Because once you learn the people and learn the backstories and learn the techniques, and you don't have to be a jiu-jitsu black belt to understand just the basics, what a sweep is and what an armbar is. You might not know how he set it up, but you'll know. Okay, that fighter is in trouble. He might get tapped. And once you learn it, it is like no other sport. You will be hooked so fast. And I've seen it so many. There's guys on my staff that write. Actually, I don't want to say my staff, our staff that write. And they haven't been MMA fans that long. And just they gave it a shot, and now they're hooked. And they're watching everything. They're trying to catch up on fights they miss. I mean, it is addicting. It's like a sports drug. So let's move on a little.
I'm looking for MMA rehab right now.
Yeah. So let's talk about you. You do everything. You're in everything. And I know one thing you're working on a movie. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Legends of the Cage just partnered up with New Vision Films. Shannon McCann Rich, he's one of the legends from Legends of the Cage.
Yeah, of course, Shannon Rich,
he reached out to me and told me about this project. And I went to bed that night thinking about it and woke up the next morning thinking about it. And I said, Legends of the Cage has to be a part of this. So we reached out to the director. After a few meetings, they hired me on as producer for the movie. And we're bringing Legends of the Cage to the forefront. We're going to have a bunch of our legends in this. We're bringing in a lot of current fighters, currently talking to some great fighters like Diego Sanchez. And we're wanting to bring some big names in, let the fans see them in a whole new light. There's been a lot of fight movies out there, but we want to make the best fight movie.
Okay. Is there any names that are definitely locked in that's doing it that you can share?
Yeah, Big Daddy Gary Goodrich, he's for sure. Shannon McCann and Rich. We've got some great guys like Nick Nutter and Brad Kohler coming out, and we got a few other names that I can't give away quite yet. But we'll be posting it on our Facebook and our Twitter this week. And matter of fact, I'll wait to announce a big one until this interview comes out, and I'll tag it with it. So
cool.
Watch the interview, guys.
Thank you. Now let me ask you: is there a basic plot that you can tell us, or no?
Yeah. It's basically No Way Out is a movie based in the future. It's based in the year 2059. It's an apocalyptic world. The lead character comes back from a galactic war to find that his brother has entered a tournament to the death, a tournament ran by the government, which at this point it's 2059, so we're able to do a lot of things with the storyline, a lot of things with the plot, reanimation, cybernetics. So we're able to bring a lot of these legends back in the form they were in 1996, 97, in the cage fighting. So we're really looking forward to this project. Jeffrey Parker has given us, a lot of leeway on who to bring in and how this movie's going to be made. And Legends of the Cage is really looking forward to being a part of it.
Okay. Is there a set date that this is supposed to come out? Any idea?
I know we're actually going to be doing filming in the fall. Movie release will probably be early 2018. February, Marchish. Okay.
And how would people be able to see it?
Actually, we're hoping you can go to your theaters. We're pushing some big movie companies that are coming on board. We may be partnering up with somebody that will be able to get it right out to the movies for you, but we can guarantee all the Legends of the Cage fans, all the MMA fans, we will make this movie accessible. Some movies in the past have been hard to find. When Fight Valley came out, I wanted to see it and couldn't find it. And then yesterday I'm sitting on the couch and it pops up on my cable box,
Okay, so let's go.
we're gonna make this movie accessible one way or another if we have to sell DVDs to the fans.
Okay. So now you're getting into the big screen. You're also getting to the small screen. I know you're talking about doing some television. Anything you can tell us about the television project you might be working on?
Yeah, we've been reaching out to several organizations and networks. We've been talking with Vice and a few other big networks about doing a show to highlight these legends, to bring them in, give them a one-on-one chance to tell their story. And we know how badly the fans want to know the real history of MMA, and that's what we want to do. We want to bring you the true history of this sport, not the watered-down versions that everybody's heard for the last 20 years. So, yeah, we're working hard. We literally are in talks right now, and hopefully by the end of 2017, you guys will be able to catch us on Vice or History or any other great channels that we're talking to.
So, you're doing these big projects. You're working with these legends. Obviously, a thing that keeps coming up in MMA right now is a fighters union. There's many different close sects of the fighters union. George St. Pierre has been pushing one. Other guys have been pushing one. Tim Kennedy's working with another one. Is this something that the legends are interested? Are they interested into a fighters union? And also, is there any way your organization is trying to help them start a union?
To be honest, man, if you go on YouTube and you look up Legends of the Cage, Nick Diaz protest, we were actually flown out before all the union talks started. We were brought out by the Culinary Union and the Teamsters. They wanted us to start the first MMA union, but I guess their goals and ours didn't coincide. They were more about the Fertittas and focusing towards the UFC, and we wanted to encompass all of MMA. And since that meeting, we've worked with John Fitch and the guys over at the MMA FA.
Okay.
And, they're doing big things, and a union is needed. And if all these small organizations, these small unions trying to start would come together, then we could do something. We could change the way these fighters are treated. These guys are fighting for pennies on the dollar. When you look at what the companies are bringing in, what the fighters are making, and the fighters are the backbone of the organization. So, yeah, to us, Legends of the Cage, and to every legend I've spoken to, they feel fighters need represented, and we're in any way willing to help or support the union cause. So,
is you're saying that there's many unions and they're not coming together? Is it difference of opinion? Is it, I'm expecting, is it ego play? Like, do you have an opinion on that?
To be honest, I don't know. Everyone that I've talked to seems to be going the same path. Wanting the same thing.
Yeah.
To me, I think it's more so just wanting to be the first organization to do it.
Sure.
When in reality, they should all come together, join Legends of the Cage, and let's make this happen. Let's make a union happen for these fighters.
So, just recap. Now, you've been doing these meet and greets, different things like that. You've been doing these tours where you're doing wonderful things as a community, meeting kids who are sick, things like that. Is this things you're going to continue to plan on doing in 2017, 2008? Is it still going to be tours and stuff like that?
Yeah, actually, we got a tour date coming up not too long from now in Pittsburgh. It's the Pittsburgh Fitness Expo / Kumite Classic. It's one of the biggest expos in the country. It's ran by Bill Viola, the godfather of MMA.
Yeah. And
we're going to be bringing Gary Goodridge and Nick Nutter and Brad Kohler and a few other legends out to the event. We're partnering up with Assassins MMA and Charlie Smith, and it's going to be a great event. We were out there a couple of years ago. They have 15,000 plus fans that showed up. It was just
wow.
It was wonderful getting these guys back out in front of the fans.
Wow, is that like the normal size for a crowd? Is it that big?
Well, it is huge, man. The first year we did it was 13,500. Second year was 15,000, and we're hoping for even more this year. If you've never been, you need to plan a trip to Pittsburgh, man. It is the go-to expo of all expos.
When is the date again?
May 26th and 27th, Memorial Day weekend.
Oh, wow. Now, I live in southern New England. When are you coming to southern New England? Because I'll tell you right now, southern New England is always forgotten in the MMA scene.
Well, actually, we've been trying to plan a Boston tour here for the last
that'll work.
eight months. So, when we hit Boston or up, we were just in Syracuse, New York, not too long ago, which is a little closer to you.
Yeah, that's not so New England though. But yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
that's
a little closer to you.
Yeah, it's about 7 or 8 hours away from where
Wow.
I live. No, I actually.
Yeah, we're working our way to Rhode Island.
Okay, yeah. The reason why I know that is just that I used to live in Ithaca, which is not far from Syracuse, so I'm fairly familiar with how far away it is. But yeah, if you come anywhere near New England, I will help you promote that. I will be there for sure. I'll bring all my friends. I'll be like a kid in a candy store.
So we come to Southern New England. You'll have to come out and do some live interviews from the show.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've always say this. I tell people this. We always do 3 kind of interviews. We do legends interviews. We do current fighters, current big organizations, UFC, Bellator, World Series of Fighting, Ryzen, things like that. And then we do prospects. And everyone always assumes that my favorite would be the current UFC fighters, and it's not. Of the 3, I put legends number 1. Number 2, I put prospects, and number 3 is the current fighters. I love talking to legends, and I love talking to prospects. I love talking about the future of the sport. So let me ask you a question. So you're involved in unions. You're doing these events, these tours. You're doing a movie. You're doing a TV. You're gathering collectibles for a museum. You're inducting people in the Hall of Fame. How do you? And obviously, on top of that, you're watching MMA religiously, like the rest of us. Like, how do you have enough time in the day to do all these things?
You don't sleep. And speaking of prospects, I've got a young kid coming up that Legends of the Cage has been working with. I personally have been working with him, named Adam Sergio Cruz. Adam Sergio Cruz. He's a 155-pounder out of Texas. This kid's no joke. The 155-pound division, I'm putting them on notice now. Like,
really?
He's coming. Yeah.
Okay. Is
there
a certain team he's with or organization he fights in we should know about?
He's Team LOTC, Legends of the Cage, baby. He's a good kid. I'm super impressed with this boy. I can't wait. If you took Sage Northcutt and made him better, he would be Sergio Cruz. So,
okay.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting for that Anthony Pettis fight or Connor. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So tell us, as we wrap up this interview, tell us, the people who listen, how they can get more information about your organization.
Yeah, they can always find us on Facebook at Legends of the Cage or me at Brian Moore on Facebook. We have legendsofthecage.com. We're on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. Check out our YouTube page. There's lots of good videos there, lots of legend shout-outs. If you Google Legends of the Cage, we're going to pop up. We're everywhere, man.
All right. And my very last question for you, Brian, is have you submitted to the takeover?
Oh, yeah. This is Brian Moore, and I have submitted to the takeover.
All right. So I just want to wish you luck. I wish you luck in everything you're doing, all your projects you're doing, and I welcome you to the MMA Takeover family.
I appreciate the time, man. And like I said, anytime you guys want to talk, I'm always available.
Thank you. It was so much fun. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our interview with Brian Moore, president of the Legends of the Cage. To continue to receive all the best MMA coverage, head over to our website, themmmatakeover.com. That's themmmatakeover.com. You can also follow us on all the social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for listening.